What's up? I'm Charlie, and y'all should go ahead and click on this video and watch my story on Tales from the Streets.
All right, so what's your name?
Charlie.
Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
How old are you?
26. I just had a birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
When was your birthday?
18th of September. Yeah.
What did you do for your birthday?
Actually, surprisingly a lot more than my previous birthdays. On the street, actually. I can't think of anything in particular that I did. Come to think of it.
So where are you from originally?
The energy was definitely better this year than previous years.
Where are you from originally?
Originally, technically I'm from overseas, from the UK, but I grew up in Arizona.
So you were born in the UK?
But yeah.
Came out here?
Yep.
At what age?
I think it was about 4. I was 4 years old. I remember having my 4th birthday actually in Prescott. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's where my family kind of grew up. So between Prescott and then my grandparents live in Wickenburg, which I don't know if you know where that is, but it's about, I'd say like an hour-ish.
It's like northwest of Phoenix?
I believe so, yeah. It's kind of out in the boonies.
Probably about, 45 minutes to an hour?
Yeah.
Away from Phoenix?
About that, yeah. And that's been my family home since I was born, so I was born outside of the UK or outside of America, but my family home and my attachment to any solid kind of space and area is my grandparents' home, which is in Wickenburg. Yeah. So yeah.
So what's going on with you now? Are you homeless?
Right now, yeah. Yes and no. I mean, it's a weird question. It's a hard one because yeah. I guess technically yes, I'm homeless.
What happened that you ended up out here on the streets?
Okay, so I've actually technically been homeless since I was 16, I want to say. Just due to not having an actual place to stay. I finished my freshman year in high school in Prescott. I then proceeded to only be able to stay at my dad's house during the week because my brother was in school. So weekends I was able to stay at the house, but other times I had to stay elsewhere. But I always had a place to stay. I was never actually homeless. I was without a legitimate place to stay, but I was never on the street like this. You know what I'm saying? So I was always at a friend's house or at a party, and that was from the age of about 15, 16 to 17. And then throughout that time, I lived elsewhere out of the country and whatnot. I had my own place. I had a legitimate job, like a real, actual life. And then I came back to America and came back here.
You went back to the UK?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, between the UK and France. And
what kind of work were you doing out there?
I was in France. I was an au pair, so I was a nanny. I also worked part-time in a restaurant, briefly. But then in the UK, I was a healthcare assistant where I worked, day shifts, night shifts they were about 12.5-hour shifts in the nursing industry, and that was pretty legitimate life experience, man.
How long did you do that for?
Almost 3 years, and I loved it. I really did. I loved it. It was something that if you've never done it, then you don't fully understand it. But it's something I would recommend to everybody, is to if you can even volunteer in the healthcare industry, specifically like elderly people, I would really suggest taking hold of any sort of opportunity like that, because it just opens up your eyes a lot to us as humans and stuff like that. But and to answer your question about the street, and I went to get sober and moved out to California, because I decided I wanted to call it quits and get my head on straight. And I had things going well out there, and then COVID happened, and one thing led to another, and it was just like the perfect storm. I ended up on the streets out there, and so the difference was from there to here. Here I had that kind of safety net of people and networking, and always had somewhere to go. As out there, I did not have anybody. I didn't know where I was. I was just in complete and total disarray, basically. And I got kind of stuck out there, and then I got comfortable, and then I was uprooted, and once the law started getting involved, it started getting messy with that. So I just kind of did my time and then dipped out, went to LA. LA was cool. But ultimately I felt I really needed to come back here to connect with family a little bit, Yeah. So that's why I'm back here. But I don't want to even say that I'm like homeless out here, because it doesn't seem real, I'm really in the mind space of making that, that big movement towards getting my life back in to me, essentially, if that makes sense, just to not feel on the outside of kind of my my I don't know, life force or whatever, so yeah, that's what led me to being out on the street, and that's where I'm at right now with that.
So the first time you experienced homelessness was in California?
Essentially, yes, but
what city were you in?
I don't know, do you know the city of Carpinteria? It's a small city in the south. Oh, maybe it's in the it's about an hour and 45 away from LA.
Okay. Going north?
Yeah, so originally it was Carpinteria, and then it went, it's a really small town, and it's really, kind of drenched in wealth and that sort of, energy, just very odd to see a 23 at the time year-old woman pushing a shopping cart down the side of the road type of deal. So I was kind of shunned out of there, and actually went to Santa Barbara is where so Santa Barbara.
Oh, so you were in Santa Maria, you said?
No, Carpinteria, and then from Carpinteria to Santa Barbara.
Never heard of that city.
Yeah, I did spend a little time in I did spend a little time in Santa Maria, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you said you went back to LA?
I went there for my first time. Yeah, I did. I went
Where
to.
Were you at? Did you go to Skid Row, or where were you staying at out there?
Actually, I did technically go to Skid Row, but I never spent time there. I didn't spend the night there. It was a lot different than I had envisioned. Not in a sense of not that homeless lifestyle I was anticipating, but the energy was different. The kind of movement of that community was just not what I kind of expected or kind of vibed with. So I pretty much stayed away from Skid Row. Actually, I spent more time near the various parks, and I kind of just bopped around. It was really eye-opening. I mean, all of the areas I went to was pretty eye-opening, but yeah, LA was cool. And I didn't stay there for very long. The whole reason I went to LA in the first place is because I was trying to make that that connection to come back home. You know, it wasn't like a stay and play forever type of deal. It was a transition to come back here essentially and you know, connect with family and get back inside type of deal, you know. But it was cool to check it out and whatnot.
So where's your family at now? You have your parents? You have mom and dad?
Yeah, I do. I don't really feel kind of comfortable like letting or like stating where exactly they are, but they're you know, my
Do you keep in contact with them at least?
no. Sorry, I'm trying to like maneuver my like shawl here. There we go. What was that? What was the question?
Do you keep in contact with them?
I mean, yeah, I do. Not as much as I'd like to, but yeah, we keep in contact.
What do they tell you when you talk to them? Do they tell you to come back home?
Well, I think that's kind of what every parent wants, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, they don't want you to not be okay, but it's kind of, I think, moved past that point of the come back home ordeal. It's more, they're, you know, and I'm proud of my family for being what they are, and it's just realists, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's very, you know, there's this kind of like fantasy about, you know, the, you know, druggy, you know, delinquent child who like comes back home and, you know, just, but it's just, it's a lot deeper than that for a lot of us, you know what I'm saying? It's, a lot of us aren't even that, like that, you know, that's the crazy part, is a lot of us, I say us as in, you know, the fellow, you know, outsider kind of group, yeah, most people don't even have that, that mentality of that's portrayed, you know. I think a lot of people are really just trying to get by in the best way that they know how. And I was actually thinking about it, I don't mean to take it off topic, but I was actually thinking about it the other day, and the way we grow up, right, is essentially where we, I think, mentally feel we deserve to be as we're older, right? And so even subconsciously, I think that we could grow up in an environment that has the equality of being outside. You know what I'm saying? Like I grew up in, essentially, I really did, for the most part, kind of, I raised myself, you know, like my parents were around, but mentally, I've always felt responsible for myself, you know what I'm saying? And and also my brother at times, but for the most part, yeah, I was responsible for my well-being and for taking care of myself, and I think as I grew up, because I was given freedom at such a young age, you know, by after freshman year, my dad told me, you know, you're old enough to make your own decisions, and that's, you know, 15 years old, after already having been, you know, taking care of myself and having to kind of step up because my mom was a single mom. So, you know, then also being, you know, having to take care of my brother at times when she was working, and that's, you know, 12 years old. So then I was thinking about it, okay, well, maybe it's, you know, been kind of difficult for me to put myself in a space where I'm indoors and everything, because my middle ground, my, you know, resting space is outside, because mentally that's kind of where I was, essentially, like looking after, like if you just looked at it on a basis of amenities, mental comfort and physical comfort also, you know, it kind of equated to being homeless. And so, but being homeless takes so much physically and emotionally out of your psyche. I think that to go above where I am right now would take a lot of physical and mental energy. I know it sounds weird or crazy, but so I kind of need to yeah, so that's what I was thinking, is like me putting in all my effort to stay alive is where I'm at right now, you know what I'm saying? Because that is my middle ground. That is to go above that would be literally like pushing myself to to go and exert more than I am almost capable of doing, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I was thinking is, and I'm sure that's probably the same for a lot of people. That's why it's kind of, yeah, it's a strange one, us and our mental spaces, because that's essentially everything, I think, but yeah.
So, what are you doing to try to get out of your situation? Or do you want to get out of your situation?
Yeah, of course I do. That's why. That's the main reason I came here. Well, came back was. It's the only reason I came back. Because I had it pretty all right out in Cali for the most part. But the heart knows, and your inner child and whatnot knows what it needs. And that was to come back here just for peace of mind. And I think the beginning of getting inside and getting back to that normality is attending to that comfort zone again and becoming aware again of that, what's it called? Familiarity. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to be to even want to, because like there's, I think obviously you go into fight or flight mode out here. You unleash like a whole other way of thinking that is survival, you know what I'm saying? And so it's almost like your additional thinking, when you're inside and stuff, becomes your primary kind of thinking, so, and I was hoping that coming back to some sort of middle ground where I know where, family's not far away, I remember this place, okay, I have memories here, this is real, this is my, this is my home from a child, grandparents, and just ease back into that, space where I can, in totality, feel and actually be able to do that, because it's not as easy kind of as just, I look at it as when you get a fish, right, when you're younger and you have to introduce the fish to the tank, you put it in its own little baggie at the top of the water to make sure that it, yeah, so it kind of like is at the same temperature as the other fish in the water, and also it just becomes comfortable in the tank before you dump it in. I think it's almost like the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're putting yourself back in your kind of an old environment or familiar environment, and then so like when you do jump back into the go of things, it's not super freaking overwhelming. You know what I'm saying? Because that shit will kill you. It really will. Like if not now, definitely later on in life. Like that stress and all of that fucking. As much as it feels like I'm adding tension and cortisol and whatnot into my body, I'm almost positive that it's kind of leveling out. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey man, thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate it also.
Are you okay if I upload this on my YouTube channel?
Yeah, for sure. Do you mind if I get the info also?
Yeah, I'll give you the info.
Okay, cool.
And just in case anybody wants to reach out to you with any sort of help or donations, do you have any contact information that you want to share, like an email or anything like that? Or Facebook or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, could I get in contact with you maybe about that? Like send
At a later time? Or?
Yeah, perhaps, if that's okay, cool. Or even leave it on the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Like in the comments, and then you could, or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
That's TBD. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Cool.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.